The night was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes every breath feel heavier than the last. Daniel, a single father in his mid-30s, walked home from his second shift at the factory. His boots were worn, his jacket frayed at the sleeves, and the weight of unpaid bills pressed on his shoulders like invisible chains. He had grown used to exhaustion, used to pushing forward with little left in his own tank, because at home a 6-year-old girl with bright eyes and boundless trust waited for him. On that night, however, fate had prepared something Daniel never expected. He was passing by the park, its lamps flickering dimly, shadows stretching unnaturally, when he heard it. A muffled cry. At first, he thought it was a cat, but as he listened closer, his heart tightened. It was a girl's voice. A desperate plea. He quickened his steps and turned the corner. There, near the swings, stood a young woman in her 20s, cornered by two men. Their harsh laughter filled the night as one grabbed at her arm. She struggled, her voice trembling, "Please, let me go." Daniel didn't think. He didn't weigh the risks. He dropped his lunch pail, his tired body suddenly surging with a strength he didn't know he still had. "Hey!" His voice thundered louder than he felt inside. The men turned, surprised by his presence. His hands were shaking, but he stepped forward anyway. "Walk away," Daniel growled, fists clenched. For a moment, it seemed they might challenge him. But then, perhaps sensing his determination, or maybe realizing someone else might appear, they spat curses and disappeared into the dark. The woman collapsed onto the swing, trembling, tears streaking her face. Daniel approached slowly, keeping a respectful distance. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. She nodded, though her whole body shook. You saved me." Her voice cracked, fragile like glass. Daniel gave a faint, weary smile. "I just happened to be here. Make sure you're safe getting home." Before she could even ask his name, he picked up his pail and walked away into the night, disappearing just as suddenly as he had arrived. For Daniel, it was just another night, another step in a life where kindness was given freely, even when he himself was running on empty. But for her, it was a night that carved itself into her soul. Days passed, weeks. Daniel thought little of it. He returned to his routine, working late, caring for his daughter, sacrificing sleep so she could eat and smile and dream. But somewhere else in the city, the young woman searched. She replayed his face in her memory, the tired eyes, the rough hands, the gentleness hidden behind exhaustion. She couldn't forget him. One morning, Daniel arrived at the diner near the factory. He often brought his daughter there on weekends when he could afford a small breakfast. That morning, as the bell above the door jingled, his daughter ran toward their usual booth. But when Daniel lifted his gaze, he froze. There she was, the woman from the park, dressed neatly, sitting at a corner table with a notebook in hand. She looked up, and their eyes met. A flicker of recognition lit hers, followed by relief. She stood. "It's you." Daniel blinked, caught off guard. Sorry, do I know? You saved me." Her voice broke, but this time with gratitude instead of fear. "At the park. That night. You didn't even let me thank you." His daughter tugged at his sleeve, confused. Daniel swallowed, suddenly uncomfortable under her earnest gaze. "I just did what anyone should have done," he muttered. But she shook her head, stepping closer. "No, people walked by that night. I saw their shadows. You were the only one who stopped. That means something." The diner grew quiet, as though even strangers leaned in to hear. Daniel's daughter smiled up at her. "My daddy's a hero," she said proudly, not knowing the weight her words carried. Tears welled in the woman's eyes. She knelt to the little girl's level. "Yes, he is." Then she looked back at Daniel, voice steady now. "My name is Elena, and I want you to remember it. Because I will never forget yours." Daniel blinked, startled. "How do you know my name?" She gave a soft smile. "I asked around. The factory, the diner. It wasn't hard to find out who the man with kind eyes was." What followed was more than just thanks. Elena became a part of their lives, not out of obligation, but out of choice. She visited often, sharing laughter with his daughter, bringing warmth into their small apartment. She learned of his struggles, the nights he went without so his child could eat, the dreams he buried under responsibility. And Daniel learned something too, that sometimes, saving someone in a moment of darkness can light a fire that saves you right back. Months later, as autumn leaves painted the streets gold, Daniel and Elena walked hand in hand with his daughter skipping happily between them. Life was still hard, but it was no longer empty. Because kindness had stitched two broken lives together. And in that moment, Daniel realized her words were true. He would never forget her name, not because she told him to, but because she had written it across his heart. Closing narration for YouTube. Sometimes, the smallest act of courage changes not just one life, but two. If this story touched your heart, remember, kindness has power beyond what we see. And if you'd like to hear more stories of hope, resilience, and love, make sure to subscribe and stay with